We must go long back into history to track the origin of the brass chariot of the Searsole royal palace. We go back to Kashmir to track the history of the family that crafted and owned the brass chariot. Kashmir was then under Afghan aggression and conquests. Many Kashmiris fled and settled elsewhere in the country. One among those who fled Kashmir was Monasharam Pandit, who secretly arrived in Lucknow with his sons Shadashib and Shibu Prasad. The sons learned Persian and Urdu in Lucknow, but unable to get jobs there, Shibu Prasad went to Varanasi and Shadashib went to Bengal. There was a lot of demand in the Calcutta courts of persons who knew Persian and Urdu. Shadashib got a job in the courts quite easily. A few days later, Shibu Prasad joined him in Calcutta. They took up a place in Kolutala Lane to stay. Shibu Prasad's eldest son was Sambhunath Pandit. Sambhunath Pandit was a prominent social reformer, close to Bida Shogot and Bethune. He was the first Indian to be appointed as a judge in the Calcutta High Court. This is what we know of the son of Shibu Prasad. On the other hand, Shadashib's son was Govindo Prasad Pandit. He first started off his work life in the courts. Later, he was appointed as a collector when he traveled extensively and gathered much experience and wealth in business and came to settle down in Bogra Choti, close to Raniganj in Bardhaman. Here, he took up employment with Anderson and Company, but made a lot of savings and bought much land. He soon turned into a jamindar of sorts in the region. In a short while, he owned land in Bardhaman, Bankura, Birbhum, Purulia, and Hooghly. He was a coal miner and earned enough out of his royalties so the peasants in his estates did not need to pay land rents. Such was his honesty, kindness, and compassion. During this time, he built his home in Searsole, which is now known as the Old Palace or Gobindo Palace. The palace was in ruins and in great need of maintenance. Under the command of his guru, he dug 2 ponds, Pandit Pukur and Ranar Pukur, and built a Shiv temple on the ghat of each pond. He also laid roads, dug the Paturia pond next to the Gobindo Palace, and set up schools for Sanskrit Chatuspati, or Vedic education. Gobindo Prasad, with the help of Bido Shogo, also set up an English medium school in 1856. Presently, the school is known as Searsol'er Raj Ucho Madhyamik Vidyalaya, Searsol'er Raj High School. The rebel poet and Bangladesh's national poet Gaji Nazrul Islam studied in this school. Here, he was inspired into revolutionary ideals through his teacher Nibaran Chandra Ghatak. In this school, Nazrul also learned Hindustani classical music from Satishandra Kanjilal, a devotee of Lord Shiva, a believer in Tantricism and being a philanthrope. He secretly donated money for the Shipoi Mutiny and the Santal rebellions. The British soon found this out, arrested him, sent him to Shiori jail, where he was poisoned to death in custody. There are 2 sources about who Gobindo Prasad's children were. According to one source, he had 2 sons and a daughter named Haro Shundori. The 2 sons died young. According to the other source, he had 4 daughters, namely Shama Shundori, Haro Shundori, Shotobama, and Uttam Kumari. Among the daughters, only Haro Shundori married, and both sources agree that Haro Shundori is the only child who was married and lived on. Before his death, Gobindo Prasad donated all his property in the name of his family deity Damodar Chandraji and willed that the most capable person of the family would oversee service of the deity. He did this to save his property from being confiscated by the British, who never recognized a woman's right of inheritance to ancestral property. He also willed that after his death, his wife Darimbo Devi could adopt a male heir. He advised his daughter Hara Sundari to refrain from directly challenging the British. Hara Sundari was married to Motilal Malia, a Sarswat Brahman from Punjab, settled in Shingur. Gobindo Prasad too was a Sarswat Brahman from Kashmir. Among the 5 dynasties of Boncho-God Brahmans mentioned in Raj Tarangani, Saraswat is one of them. It is believed that the Sarswat Brahmans lived by the river Saraswati, the Indus Valley. Motilal died in 1862. Haro Sundari and he had 5 sons, among whom were Bisheshar Malia, Rameshar Malia, and Dokineshar Malia. There were Sharbeshar Malia and Shorjeshar Malia. The latter 2 died young. They had a daughter as well, called Monomahini Devi. After the death of Haro Sundari and his father, Bisheshar wholly immersed himself in works of charity. He built a palace called Bisho Golab in the name of he and his wife Golab Sundari, also known as the New Palace. After the death of Darimbo Devi, the Jamindari came into the hands of the Malias. After the death of Motilal Malia in 1862 and Darimbo Devi in 1872, Bisheshar took over the management of the Jamindari. We now know the history of the arrival of the Malias from the Pandit in Searsole. We learned of their ancestry and of the acquisition of the Jamindari. Let us now learn how from a mere Jamindar they came to be known as Rajas. Historical sources reveal that in the viceroyship of the first Earl of Northbrook, Haro Sundari was given the title of the Rani, or Queen, while her son, Bisheshar Malia, was given the title of Raja Bahadur. Later, on January 1st, 1877, on the occasion of giving the title of Bharateshwari to Queen Victoria, Lord Lytton honored Haro Sundari Devi as Moharani and Bisheshar as Raja Bahadur. Since then, the Jamindars of Searsole were known as Rajas. The name Searsole derives from She'er or She'aura, while Shol means fertile land, or in other words, this means a fertile land with Shaura trees. But the name Rani Gonj was derived from other sources. There is no connection with the Pandits of Searsole. Some historical sources say that Rani Brojo Kishori stayed in this place on her way back from Kenduli, where she built a temple dedicated to Radha Gobindo. Other historical sources say that Rani Gonj has been named after Rani Bishenko Marie. Close to Searsole is the largest pond called Rani Shayor, named so because many of the queens would use it. Shayor is the short form for Sharabor, and it is still known as Rani Shayor. This place is also the origin of the Rath car festival. In 1877, a large wooden Rath was built under the aegis of Haro Sundari. It was covered with a straw hood and kept near the Bisho Golab Palace. But suddenly, due to unidentified reasons, the Rath caught fire. The vehicle of the gods was burnt to ashes. This was a bad omen. Fear gripped the royal family. It was thought that trying out the new form of worship did not suit them. Blaming themselves for transgressing their traditional gods, the family did not wish to restore the Rath. However, a miracle took place. It is difficult to say whether this was a dream or a reality. A member of the royal family, most probably Pramotonath Malia, son of Bisheshar, saw the family deity Damodorji floating on the water. As soon as he saw this apparition, Pramotonath quickly came to Calcutta and ordered a brass chariot with Shachindra Prasad Dash and company and got it delivered at Searsole. This was on Sunday, the 15th of July, 1923. In the Bengali year 1330, on the 30th of Ashard, the Rath was ceremoniously inaugurated, but no umbrage was cast on the chariot, and it exists even today without a hood. This chariot with 9 spires is still the tallest among all the brass chariots that exist in the country. It is 30 feet high and 16 feet wide and deep. The Rath is a 3-storied structure. One can enter the chariot and climb up a staircase for the upper floors. Built on the model of the terracotta Noburatno temple, there are reliefs of characters and idols from the Ramayana and Mahabharata Puranas and Krishna Lila. Among those, one should especially mention the idols of Annapurna, Vishnu, Kali, Shingo Bahini, scenes from Shitaharan, images of Radha Krishna, Jogai Madhai, Gaur Nitai, the 10 avatars of Vishnu, Ramshita, and Doshanan, Jagannath Bolaram Subhadra, Dokina Gali, Bokashor Bod, Galia Domon, Babu Bilash, and foreign women. Around the chariot, there are 36 pairs of peacocks and eyes. These figures are permanently fixed to the outer wall of the chariot. On the day of the Rath festival, the figures of 2 horses are tied in the front of the chariot with the idol of a charioteer. However, Jagannath does not ride this Rath. It is ridden by Damodarji. The Rath festival has been going on since 1923. Earlier, people used to pull the chariot during the festival, but now it is pulled by trucks. On the day of the Rath Yatra, the chariot would travel from the Bisha Golap, or the New Palace, to Gobindo Palace, or the Old Palace. The chariot traveled back to the New Palace on the day of the Ulta Rath. In the olden days, the reverse happened. The Old Palace was always in use, though no one stayed there. The premises were used for rehearsals of theaters and used as a school. The house was a heritage. It was not a ruin. The chariot would be parked throughout the year in front of the Old Palace. On the day of the Rath Yatra, the chariot pulling would start between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. The villagers would throng in hordes to witness the festival. The chariot returns by noon on the day of the Ulta Rath. A fair lasting for 8 to 9 days is held near the palaces. Presently, instead of the royal family, the Searsole Sports and Cultural Association conducts the chariot festival. The maintenance of the chariot is undertaken by the royal family even now. It is the duty of the present generation to uphold and protect our heritage and tradition. Any indifference towards conservation can wipe out our heritage. It can fall to ruins any moment. Time is like a conflagration. Neglect can reduce to ashes any heritage in no time. In short, the lack of upkeep devastates heritage properties, erases every tradition, destroys pride in our culture. Obfuscates the joy in our memories and pains the collective subconscious. These are perhaps reasons enough why we need the upkeep of this chariot with a sense of immediacy and urgency. No teardrop of the royal family should ever fall on the brass chariot, because if that happens, then it will not only be an irreparable damage to our heritage and demoralizing for our culture, but we will be collectively shamed by our present for having ignored our history.